One of the most difficult things for a new driver is having to learn so many tasks and do so many new tasks all at one time. They are literally having to try to do these multiple things at the conscious level by thinking about it. And they can get into overload very quickly. And we all know you don't do something well, whether in sports or in driving, until you can get more and more programming to the subconscious level. So you can do more and more automatically without thinking about it. So let's talk about psychomotor skills and how you can become a real coach for your team. Psycho basically means your mind or your brain. The motor, my motor is my body. A skill is the ability to do something at the subconscious level, to be able to do it automatically as the result of programming into the brain. Playing any sport is about learning the psychomotor skills, the skill set of that particular sport, or in learning to play the piano or the violin. Learning to drive is a psychomotor skill. How many hours is your child going to need to practice to learn to play the piano or to play soccer or tennis? They don't learn to play tennis very well in 5 or 6 hours. Research shows that for the average child to learn to play a sport, even reasonably well, they've probably spent more than 2,000 hours practicing. To reach a higher level of performance, a lot more than that. Let me use this example to give a real situation to help us understand with more clarity. Have you ever driven in England or Scotland or Australia? If you have probably experienced some scary moments. In Australia and England and Scotland, they drive on the wrong side of the road, and they sit on the wrong side of the car. And the gear shift and the turning signals and windshield wipers are on the wrong side of the steering wheel. For most experienced drivers from the United States, this becomes very confusing and at times frightening, and it is very dangerous. Why? Because you're not able to do all of these things about driving automatically. Your programming doesn't fit. You're literally having to think about everything that you're doing, which means you are driving totally at the conscious level, including even where you need to be looking, because the other cars are coming from the wrong direction. I remember several years ago, we landed in Scotland and rented a car. And I had driven in Australia and England before, and I was pretty comfortable driving on the wrong side of the road. And then we came out of the airport into a sign that said experimental double roundabout. And it scared me to death, along with my wife and our friends in the car. In fact, I think I used a couple of words I don't normally use. I had driven through the standard roundabout, so I knew what the potential danger was, but I had no idea what to do in a double roundabout. So as you are coaching your team to drive, just realize that for them at first, it would be about the same as you driving in England or Scotland. Even though they have ridden with you for 15 years, they have not been doing the driving. They do not have the programming yet. It is going to take many hours of practice during the time that they have a permit for them to learn what they need to learn, where they need to look, where they need to focus to become a safe and competent driver. They will need to learn what 4,000 or 5,000 pounds in motion feels like, as we have discussed. If the driver is out of control, the car is out of control. Take a moment to think about it. They are going to be driving other members of your family, your other children, their siblings, and in a few years, your grandchildren. I believe that we all know that the requirements for a driver's license are minimal. In fact, most people think it's a joke, except that it's not very funny. Do you think your child needs to know more than the minimum requirements that it takes to get a driver's license? So let me ask you, what would you do to save your child's life? I ask that question to a lot of parents. Most parents say, anything, I'd do anything. But the question is, what will you do to save your child's life? That is why it is so important for you to be involved and to have a complete strategy to work with your child. One of the primary causes of crashes by teens is the lack of experience. We all know that. We hear it all the time. But what does that mean? As human beings, we learn, we literally program our brains by experiential learning. We learn by doing. As a parent, you can do a lot to help prepare your children to become good drivers. You can do a lot to help reduce the risks to your kids and to your family if you have a roadmap, a plan, and some directions on how to help them. So your primary objective as a parent coach is for your teen to learn about driving in various conditions and situations, to experience as much as possible during the time that they have a permit so that they will know how to respond when the time comes. Give them as much driving time as possible, many hours in different conditions, coaching them on the what and the why and the how, not just lecturing, but coaching them. It just might save their lives someday, and it just might save your life and the lives of your other children. The development of psychomotor skills is critically important, getting as much as possible to the subconscious level as quickly as possible. This is done only by many repetitions. So while some of these exercises may become boring to you, repetitions are the only way your teen is going to learn them. The creation of a good plan for what you want to do and how you want them to do it is very important. They will need as much driving experience as you can give them, not just lecturing, but for them to learn by doing. Remember that as your teen is able to progress more and more, your support to them during this learning process will impact how quickly and how well they are able to learn.